I feel French with my moustache. Eating a cookie. This cookie is so good. Eating a cookie. Still. What video am I making? It feels like my last review for Brief Interviews with Hideous Men was forever ago, about the same time when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Yet still, I'm only about halfway through. But I figure that it's a collection of short stories, and it's pretty much just going to be more of the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the final review and start another book, and I'll read this book when I'll finish it when I get a chance. If you haven't seen Julia's last video review, it's pretty much the exact same thing, this book. So the author of Brief Interviews with Hideous Men was also the author of Big Fish, which the movie was loosely based on. And I haven't read Big Fish, but this book is pretty much more of the same of Big Fish, with all those collection of short stories sort of meshed into one. They're sort of these stories that make you feel good about yourself, or laugh, or cry. And there are parts that are very sexual, the same as Julia's book. But that was sort of a nice change for me, because I feel like every book that I've ever had to read was void of those things, because parents complain when their kids bring home books talking about a lady's boobies. Boobies! Hopefully everyone's okay with me saying boobies, because if you aren't, then I would say that you've been socially destroyed. Sorry. Pretty much, this book for me has been really inspiring so far, and it makes me think about things differently, which is what I totally wanted when I started reading. I wanted to read things that were like, It points out things that are fairly obvious, but it puts a twist on them to make you go, oh, well, I never really thought about it that way. And a lot of these things, it's sort of sad because they remind me of myself, or things that I have thought before. And that's upsetting because they are brief interviews with hideous men. A few things that stick out are this story about this girl, and she's called The Depressed Person, and it goes through, and it's like, it's a short story, but it's like 40 pages about this girl who is depressed, and her parents were divorced, and she was in between them, and she had all these problems, and she goes up through life, and she has this support system, and she calls her support system all the time, and sort of interrupts their life and things like that. And then her psychiatrist ends up killing herself, and then she's, the depressed person is even worse off. And by the end of the story, I just heard like the same thing over and over about, the girls complaining about the same things, and I went through a depressed state like that. But now looking back at it, I was just sort of ignorant to the whole thing, and I let that negative energy consume me. And don't get me wrong, I'm very cynical. If you say something to me, I could pick out every negative thing ever in it. But now I see, the good things too, which is a really positive thing. And sometimes I'll just pull out the positive things, and sometimes I'll pull out the negative things, and sometimes I can do both. At the very end of the chapter, and she's like, at her wit's end, and she's saying, tell me what you really think about me. Be honest about it, and don't sugarcoat it at all. And then the story ends. And I was so pissed, because I wanted this girl to kill herself, because I was pissed off at her. I was like, you need to really, start to see things that are better in life. So just kill yourself, because you're just annoying me. And maybe that's cynical, and maybe that's sort of what the author is going for, because other than that, there's really no hideous thing about that story. And another story, which is really sort of tragic, inspired me to do a video series on my own channel, and I'm going to do a shameless plug for that. But the video series is called Young Love, A Timeline, and pretty much it's going to be an account of all my past relationships. I noticed a progression through my life of being in love and falling in love, and then it turning into something else that wasn't love anymore. I'm not going to go too far into depth with it because I really want everyone to watch this. But so far it's had a lot of really great comments, and Julia is actually helping me out with it, so that's been really great. But other than that, this book is done for me, and the next book I'll be reading, only because it's convenient, I don't want to say this because it's a really long book, but it's going to be The Fountainhead. And also, I want to say thanks to, I don't know what her name is or what her screen name is, but once I find out, I'll post it in the description over here. But she suggested that I read the book series called The Uglies, so I'm actually going to read that because I think she's the only person who suggested books for me, so that's what I'm going to do. And she made a really awesome video response to us, so you should check that out too. Leave comments and subscribe, and check out my video.